Alexander Ray was a name that commanded power in boardrooms and inspired fear in corporate battles. But on this particular morning, the young millionaire felt his world shrinking. His company was on the brink of its biggest legal fight ever, a battle that threatened to obliterate everything he had built. The tension in his office was thick, like the heavy air before a storm. He stood at the tall glass window, gazing at the city below, a sharp pain twisting in his chest. He forced himself to breathe slowly, evenly. He hated showing weakness, especially today. His entire legal team was waiting for him in the conference room. They were waiting for him to make decisions where a single wrong move could cost millions. With a face carved from stone, he walked towards the meeting, masking the hurricane raging inside him. His staff fell silent as he passed. They knew better than to make a mistake when he was in this mood. He entered the room, and his lawyers shot up from their seats, nervously placing thick files on the table. The pages were a blur of clauses, notes, and evidence, a language only they could truly understand. The meeting started with a roar of anxious voices and the frantic flipping of paper. The lawyers explained that a major contract had been disastrously misread. A rival company was now suing, demanding a sum so astronomical it could shatter his empire. Alexander clenched his jaw until it ached. He couldn't fathom how his team had missed something so critical. The meeting dragged on for hours with no solution in sight. The pressure in the room became unbearable. Just as hope began to fade, the door creaked open. A young delivery girl stepped inside, holding a small package. Her clothes were dusty from work, her eyes tired, but they held a quiet, honest light. "Delivery for Mr. Ray," she said, her soft voice cutting through the thick silence. For a moment, everyone just stared, startled by her sudden appearance. Alexander, consumed by stress and anger, finally snapped. "This is a private meeting," his voice boomed. "Can't you read the sign on the door? How did you even get in here without knocking?" The delivery girl Maya flinched, clutching the package to her chest. Her hands trembled slightly. She hadn't expected to be yelled at for just doing her job. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "The receptionist said it was urgent and to bring it directly to you." But Alexander, his ego, bruised by fear, wasn't listening. "People like you need to learn some discipline and respect," he spat. The words hung in the air like a poison, making everyone uncomfortable, but no one dared to speak up. Alexander was their boss. Maya forced a polite smile. "I understand," she said quietly. She placed the package on the table and turned to leave. As she did, her gaze fell upon the legal papers spread across the surface. She tried to look away, but her eyes froze on a single line, a tiny sentence most people would overlook. She had seen something like it before, in a law book from long ago. She blinked, her mind instantly recognizing a fatal error. Before she could stop herself, the words slipped out. Soft but clear. "That clause on page 17 contradicts the one on page 4. It can be used to twist the agreement." Everyone stared at her as if she'd just spoken an alien language. Alexander turned sharply, his eyes cold with fury. "What nonsense are you talking about?" he demanded. Maya froze, realizing her mistake. But she quietly explained, "The two clauses can't legally coexist. The wording allows the other company to shift all responsibility onto you. That's why the contract is so dangerous." The room fell completely silent. The lawyers knew instantly that she was right. One of them grabbed the papers, his hands shaking as he flipped through the pages. Another lawyer whispered, "She's right. She's completely right. How did we miss this?" The ground seemed to shift beneath Alexander's feet. But his pride reacted first. A delivery girl couldn't possibly understand a legal contract. He scoffed, accusing her of showing off. Maya's eyes fell. "I didn't mean to interfere," she said softly. "I just noticed it." She turned to leave again, but this time the head lawyer's voice stopped her. "What you said could change everything." He looked directly at Alexander. "We need to check this." After a swift review, the entire legal team confirmed it. Maya's observation was not just correct, it was crucial. A single contradiction could save the company from financial ruin. The atmosphere in the room transformed. The lawyers looked at Maya with pure astonishment, whispering among themselves, trying to figure out how she'd seen what they had all missed. Alexander stood frozen, unable to process that a girl delivering packages had just outsmarted his entire team of high-paid experts. But instead of gratitude, he felt humiliated. His anger flared again. He threw more harsh words at her, calling it a lucky guess, telling her to stay out of things she didn't understand. Hurt but still composed, Maya simply said, "I'm sorry if I caused any trouble," and quietly left the room. The moment the door closed, the room erupted with the sound of lawyers debating how her insight had completely altered the case. Alexander couldn't focus. Her words echoed in his mind. For the first time, he wondered how she knew about that clause. He pushed the thought away, telling himself it didn't matter. But deep down, something was gnawing at him. A small part of him felt a pang of guilt for how he'd treated her. The head lawyer approached him, his face serious. "That girl just saved us from a disaster," he said. "We owe her our respect, maybe more." A sting of shame hit Alexander, but he hid it, slamming his hand on the table and ordering the meeting to continue. His mind, however, kept drifting to the door where she had disappeared. Who was she? After the meeting, he returned to his office, but couldn't shake the image of her. He replayed the moment she pointed out the mistake, the confidence in her voice. He hated not knowing things, hated being wrong, and he hated even more the idea that he had humiliated someone for no good reason. Pacing restlessly, he finally called his assistant. "Find out everything you can about that delivery girl," he demanded. His assistant returned later with little information. Her name was Maya. She worked part-time for the delivery company, taking extra shifts to pay for hospital bills. Alexander frowned. Why would someone so intelligent be stuck in a delivery job? The question grew louder in his mind, becoming an obsession. He told himself it was just curiosity. But it was more than that. It was guilt mixed with a strange fascination. He couldn't forget the flash of recognition in her eyes, her quiet confidence in a room full of powerful men. The mystery of Maya began to grow inside him, a spark threatening to become a fire. As the day ended and the office lights dimmed, Alexander found himself at the window again, staring into the night. Who is she? He whispered to himself. How did she know so much? He felt a strange weight in his chest when he remembered the hurt in her eyes. And then a thought struck him, something he couldn't shake no matter how hard he tried. The simple, unsettling truth that Maya, the delivery girl he had so cruelly humiliated, might not be just a delivery girl at all. The next morning, Alexander Ray woke up with a restless mind. He'd spent the whole night staring at the city lights from his penthouse window, downing coffee after coffee, trying to focus on new company strategies. But it was no use. The face of the delivery girl, Maya, kept rising in his thoughts, a quiet echo he couldn't push away. He hated this feeling, the confusion, the guilt scratching at the back of his mind, and most of all, the strange interest that had taken root ever since she pointed out that contract mistake. When he arrived at the office, everyone stood a little straighter. Alexander looked even more serious than yesterday, his eyes sharp, his shoulders tight. He moved with the quick steps of a man searching for answers. He called his assistant into his office. "Did you find anything more about her?" he asked. His voice clipped. The assistant repeated the same information. Maya worked part-time for a delivery service, often taking double shifts to pay regular hospital bills. Quietly added that she lived in a small rented house on the edge of the city. Alexander paused. Something shifted inside him. He'd grown up with wealth, never once worrying about hospital bills or rent or basic survival. The idea that someone so brilliant was struggling like that bothered him more than he expected. He tried to ignore the feeling, but it stayed, a small weight pressing on his chest. Finally, with a tone he tried to mask with businesslike coldness, he told his assistant, "Prepare the car. I want to check something myself." His assistant stared, confused. It was highly unusual for Alexander to take a personal interest in a low-level employee, but no one dared to question him. Soon, Alexander was sitting in the back of his black luxury car, watching the busy city streets blur past. All the while, he thought about her eyes, how calm and steady they were, even while he was shouting. He remembered the confidence in her voice when she spoke about the contract. The car finally stopped outside a tiny cafe where she worked part-time. It was a small place, with old chairs and simple decorations. Alexander stepped out, feeling strangely out of place in his expensive suit. He pushed the feeling aside and entered. There she was, behind the counter, tying her apron and taking orders with a warm smile for every customer. For a moment, he just watched her, noticing things he'd ignored before. How gentle she seemed, how tired her eyes looked. how she carried herself with a quiet, unshakable strength. When she finally turned and saw him, the smile vanished, replaced by shock and confusion. The tray in her hand trembled slightly. "Do you need something?" she asked, her voice holding no fear, only a guarded distance. He cleared his throat, suddenly unsure how to begin. Apologizing wasn't something he was used to. "I came to talk," he said simply. Maya stiffened. "I'm working," she replied softly. "I don't have time for long conversations." The other customers were looking curiously at the expensive-looking man by the counter, but Alexander ignored them. 2 minutes, he said gently. "I promise I'll be quick." She hesitated, then stepped aside toward a quiet corner, keeping a small distance as she waited for him to speak. Alexander, a man rarely at a loss for words, found himself oddly nervous. "Came to say I'm sorry," he began. "For the way I treated you, I shouldn't have shouted. I was under pressure, but that's no excuse." Maya listened quietly, her expression unreadable. She simply nodded. "I accept your apology. I don't like holding grudges." Then she added softly, "But I was just doing my job. I didn't deserve to be embarrassed in front of so many people." Her calm honesty hit him harder than anger would have. Guilt tightened inside him. "How did you notice the contract mistake?" he asked, genuinely curious. "Even my lawyers missed it." Maya hesitated before answering. "I used to study law at the university." Her voice carried a hint of sadness as she explained she had to quit when her father fell sick. The medical bills became too heavy, and she needed to work full-time to support him. Alexander felt something inside him soften. He understood sacrifice, though he rarely admitted it. "Do you want to return to your studies someday?" he asked. She gave a faint smile, one filled with both hope and pain. "I'd love to, but dreams cost money." I had to choose survival. A sting of something he couldn't name. Admiration mixed with sorrow hit Alexander's chest. He found himself wanting to help, not out of charity, but because someone with her mind didn't deserve to fade away in a daily struggle. He had to keep her close, not just because she was intelligent, but because something about her honesty and strength pulled him in like gravity. Pretending it was business-related, he took a legal file from his briefcase. "I wanted your opinion on something." Maya looked surprised. "Why would you show me a legal paper? I'm not a lawyer." He waved it off. "I just want a second pair of eyes." Reluctantly, she took the file, her eyes scanning the pages with a speed and focus that stunned him. Within minutes, she pointed out 2 small loopholes, explaining them with calm, clear logic. Alexander felt a chill run down his spine. She had just solved something his legal team had taken 3 days to understand. He suddenly realized Maya wasn't just intelligent, she was exceptional, the kind of mind that could change the world. For a moment, he just stared at her, forgetting the cafe, forgetting everything except the simple truth that this woman had a gift. He wondered again why fate had been so cruel to her. Before she could return the file, he spoke without thinking. "My office tomorrow. I have a proposal for you." Maya froze, staring at him with wide eyes. She shook her head. "I don't want trouble, or pity. I don't want to be mocked in front of rich people again." Her voice carried the hurt from the day before, a wound not yet healed. "This isn't pity," Alexander said immediately. "It's an opportunity. Your sharp mind could help me. I genuinely need your input." She still hesitated, unsure if she could trust him. Noticing her doubt, Alexander softened his voice. "I'll respect whatever you decide. I won't pressure you. But I believe you deserve a chance." Maya looked down at her hands, her mind at war. Part of her wanted to run far away from his world, a world of wealthy people who looked at her with judgment. But another part remembered the joy she once felt analyzing legal cases, the passion for law she had buried to survive. "I'll think about it," she said finally, making no promises. Alexander nodded, grateful she was even considering it. He left the cafe with a mind full of new plans and a strange warmth in his chest. Maya watched him go, confusion and heaviness swirling in her heart. Why would a powerful man suddenly show interest in her mind when the world had always overlooked her? That night, neither of them slept easily. Maya tossed and turned, thinking about the proposal, fearing the chaos it might bring into her life. Across the city, Alexander lay awake, imagining the possibility of working with her, secretly hoping she would say yes. He wanted to understand her more, her mind, her quiet strength, and the strange, Powerful effect she had on him without even trying. Far apart but unknowingly connected, both their hearts beat with the same silent question: what would tomorrow bring? And how much were their lives about to change? The next morning arrived slower for Maya, but faster for Alexander. While Maya spent the whole night tossing and turning, wondering if she should even go to his office, Alexander woke up early with a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. It was a strange mix of excitement and nervousness, and it confused him. He wasn't a man who got nervous, yet here he was, checking the time again and again, wondering if she would come. When he arrived at his office, everyone noticed he was unusually distracted. He kept glancing at the door, as if expecting someone important. His staff whispered among themselves. Alexander Ray was never like this, but no one dared to ask him what was wrong. On the other side of the city, Maya stood outside the towering office building, her heart pounding in her chest. She stared up at the huge glass tower, a place she'd only seen from afar. After yesterday's humiliation, she never imagined she'd be back. She almost turned around twice, telling herself she didn't belong here. But a little voice inside her whispered that she shouldn't let one bad moment define her. Maybe this was a real opportunity, a chance to start a new chapter. So, she took a deep breath and walked through the glass doors, her steps slow but steady. When she told the receptionist her name, the woman's eyes widened. She quickly made a call upstairs. Within minutes, Maya was being led to Alexander's office. The moment she entered, he stood up from his chair. Something in his eyes softened, a gentle look no one in his company had ever seen before. He asked her to sit and offered her water, but his voice had a slight tremor, like he was trying too hard to stay professional. Maya felt nervous under his intense gaze, but she remained calm. He explained that he wanted her to join his company temporarily as a legal assistant. It would only be for 1 month, he said, and she could decide later if she wanted to stay. He promised her proper respect, fair pay, and a comfortable workspace. Maya listened carefully, feeling a battle between fear and hope inside her. Part of her wanted to run, to escape anything that reminded her of the university dream she was forced to abandon. But another part of her felt alive, hearing someone finally acknowledge her abilities. After a long, silent moment, she finally said yes. She would try it for 1 month. Alexander's face instantly showed something that looked almost like relief, which he quickly hid behind his professional mask. He called his assistant and ordered a workspace to be prepared for her immediately. Soon Maya was shown to a desk near the legal department. The staff watched her with curiosity, whispering among themselves. They couldn't understand why their powerful CEO would bring a delivery girl to work alongside them. Some smirked, assuming she would fail within a day. A few felt threatened by her sudden presence, worried she might replace them. Maya noticed all the looks and whispers, but kept her focus on her work. She was determined not to let anyone break her spirit again. Within hours, she proved she was no ordinary assistant. She tackled a complex contract issue that the team had been struggling with for days. With sharp eyes, she pointed out a loophole that no one else had seen. News spread like wildfire across the office. The new girl was something special. Alexander heard about it from his assistant. He walked down to the legal department, pretending it was just a routine inspection, but his eyes were searching for Maya. When he saw her focused expression, her fingers moving confidently over the papers, he felt a strange warmth spread through his chest. It was a feeling that surprised him, one he'd never felt before. He stood there for a moment, just watching her, before clearing his throat to get everyone's attention. The team immediately stood up straight, but Alexander only looked at Maya. He asked softly if she had everything she needed.
Out.
Maya nodded and thanked him politely. He left with a small smile that he didn't show to anyone else. Over the next few days, something unexpected happened. Something neither of them had planned. They started talking more, not just about work, but about life, about dreams and struggles, about the little things that slowly built a quiet bond between them. Every time Alexander passed Maya's desk, the staff noticed the change in him. He spoke softer. He listened more. He often smiled without even realizing it. Rumors flew, but no one dared to confront him. Maya, though still shy, felt her heart warm each time he praised her work, each time he asked how her father was doing, each time he offered help without being controlling. She slowly began to see a different side of him, a gentle man hidden beneath the hard business shell. But not everyone was happy with Maya's presence. Jealousy was growing among some employees who disliked how quickly she had gained attention. One senior assistant named Clara felt particularly threatened. She watched Maya's skills and Alexander's growing interest in her with bitter resentment. Clara started looking for ways to bring Maya down, starting with small, passive-aggressive comments, fake smiles, and silent judgment. Maya ignored it all, keeping her head down and working with integrity. Then came the day of a major contract review. It was a crucial document that required extreme attention to detail. This was Clara's chance. She secretly switched to pages in the contract, creating a glaring mistake that would undoubtedly be blamed on Maya. When the contract reached Alexander, he immediately sensed something was wrong. The legal team, influenced by Clara, quickly pointed fingers at Maya, claiming she had misread the document. Some even muttered that she was inexperienced and careless. Maya felt her stomach drop. Her eyes trembled. She had worked day and night to make every detail perfect. She knew she hadn't made that mistake. But before she could even defend herself, Alexander's voice cut through the room, sharp as steel. He told everyone to calm down. He held the contract, flipping through the pages with intense focus. After a few minutes, he looked up, his eyes cold with fury.
Ouch.
He announced that the mistake was not Maya's, but someone else's. He recognized the different formatting and page order. He demanded to know who had tampered with the papers. Clara's face turned deathly pale. Alexander's eyes locked onto her, and under his sharp gaze, she broke down and confessed. She said she did it because she felt insecure. The entire room went silent as Alexander's anger filled the air. He told Clara that insecurity was never an excuse to sabotage someone's hard work, and he suspended her on the spot. Maya stood frozen, shocked that he had defended her so fiercely. When he turned to her, his expression softened instantly. He told her gently that she should never doubt her worth, that she saw things others couldn't, and that she should never let anyone make her feel small. His words touched Maya so deeply that she had to look away for a moment to hide her tears. Alexander noticed but respected her silence. After that incident, Maya earned a new level of respect from the team, and now understood she was not someone to be underestimated. Alexander found himself thinking about her more and more often. He noticed the way she smiled, the way she spoke kindly to everyone, the simple strength she carried in her eyes. Something was growing in him, something warm and dangerous, something he tried to push away but couldn't. Maya was becoming important to him in a way he couldn't explain. And Maya, without even realizing it, felt herself drawn to Alexander too. Not because he was rich or powerful, but because he had shown her kindness and respect when the world had shown her neglect. Their bond grew silently, woven through long days and late nights of work, but their peace wouldn't last. Far away, a dangerous rival who hated Alexander was plotting his downfall. When a spy in the office informed him that Alexander had brought in a new assistant, the rival's anger intensified. He decided to use Maya as a weak point, a pawn to break Alexander. A storm was brewing, ready to crash into both their lives. A storm that neither Maya nor Alexander was prepared for, but one that would change everything in the days to come. Everything changed the evening Maya stepped out of the office. After another long day of fixing legal documents and helping Alexander's company recover, she was tired but proud. The sun had set, and the streets were dim, lit only by weak streetlights. As she walked slowly toward the bus stop, clutching her small notebook, she sensed footsteps behind her. At first, she ignored it, but the footsteps grew faster, heavier, and closer. Her heart raced. She turned and saw two shadowy men following her, their faces hidden under caps. Fear shot through her. She started walking faster, but so did they. One of them called out her name in a low voice that sent chills down her spine. Maya panicked and began to run. The street was too quiet. She realized she'd taken a shortcut without thinking. "Stop running," one man said, his voice cold. "We only want to talk." She knew they were lying. She'd seen these men near Alexander's office the day he announced the company's recovery plan. They were spies, and now they were here for her. She pulled out her phone, her hands shaking so much she couldn't dial the police. With trembling fingers, she dialed the one number her heart trusted, Alexander's. He answered in seconds, his voice sharp with worry. "Maya, what happened?" She gasped for air and whispered, "Two men." They're following me. Alexander's tone changed instantly. Where are you? She told him her location between rushed breaths. Stay on the line. I'm coming. Don't talk to them. Just keep moving where there are lights. But the lights were fading as she reached an empty street. The men were closer now, blocking her path. You think you're smart? One hissed. Because of you, our boss is losing everything. So you will send him a message. Tears filled Maya's eyes, but she stood firm. I didn't do anything wrong, she said, her voice shaking. Then why are you scared? The man smirked, stepping closer. Suddenly, a black car screeched into the street, its headlights blinding the men. The door flew open, and Alexander stepped out, anger burning in his eyes. Touch her, he growled, and you will regret it. The men backed away, startled. One tried to act brave. This is business, Mr. Ray. Stay out of it. Alexander moved forward without fear. She's my business. His tone was cold, deadly. The men realized they were no match for him and ran into the shadows. Alexander didn't chase them. He rushed to Maya, who was trembling, her breath unsteady. He gently held her shoulders. You're safe now, he whispered. The moment she saw him, the fear she held inside burst out, and she broke down crying. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her like she was the most fragile thing in his world. I'm sorry, she whispered through tears. I didn't know what to do. Alexander shook his head. You did the right thing calling me. I swear I won't let anyone hurt you. He guided her into the car and locked the doors. She sat there shaking, hugging herself as he drove quickly toward his private safe house outside the city. When they reached the quiet villa, surrounded by trees and a peaceful garden, Maya took a deep breath, feeling the fear slowly fade. Alexander led her inside the warm, safe house. He gave her water, placed a blanket around her shoulders, and sat beside her without a word, just wanting her to feel safe. After a long silence, Maya whispered, Why? Why did they come after me? Alexander's jaw tightened. They want to break me, he said softly. And they know hurting you would hurt me more than anything. Maya's eyes widened. But why me? Alexander cut her off gently. You're not just anything, Maya. You matter to the company, to the case, to me. She stared at him, her heartbeat quickening. He leaned forward, his voice softer than she had ever heard. You changed everything. You are the reason I'm standing today. You gave me hope when everything was falling apart. Maya looked away, overwhelmed. I don't understand why you say things like that, she whispered. I'm nobody compared to your world. Alexander moved closer, his voice firm but warm.
Oh.
Don't ever say that again. You are the bravest person I've ever met, and the smartest, the kindest. Tears filled her eyes again, but not from fear this time. I was so scared today, she admitted. I thought something bad would happen before I could even reach my dreams. Alexander gently lifted her chin. Nothing will happen to you. Not while I'm alive. The seriousness in his voice made her heart tremble. He stood up and walked toward his desk. We need to finish this, he said. We need to end what the rivals started once and for all. Maya wiped her eyes and nodded. Together, they gathered documents and evidence. She explained the legal tricks the rival was using, and he explained the business traps they had set. They worked side by side, their minds in perfect sync. For the first time, Alexander realized Maya wasn't just smart, she was brilliant. And Maya realized Alexander trusted her completely as an equal. Hours passed. When they finally finished, Maya leaned back, exhausted but proud. Alexander watched her quietly, admiration in his eyes. You're incredible, he said. Maya blushed. I just did what I could. You did more than that, Alexander whispered. You saved me. She looked up confused. Saved you? He nodded. Before you came into my life, I was drowning in problems. I was surrounded by people who wanted something from me. But you only wanted to help. That's why you're special. Her chest tightened. No one had ever spoken to her with such honesty. Her voice was small when she asked, Why does it sound like you're saying something more? Alexander took a slow step toward her. Because I am. He stopped right in front of her. Maya, I've been trying to hide this feeling for weeks. Her breath caught. Feeling, she whispered. He nodded slowly. I care about you more than I should, more than I expected. Maya froze, her heart racing. "I don't know if I fit in your life," she whispered. "I'm just a delivery girl who got lucky." Alexander gently took her hands. "You're not in my life because of luck. You're here because you're brilliant, because you're brave, because you are you." Maya swallowed hard. "But people will talk. They will judge." "Let them talk," Alexander said firmly. "I don't care what anyone thinks. I care about you." For a moment, the world felt still. The fear she had held for years, the belief that she was not enough, began to fade. She whispered, "I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just know that I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." He gently wiped a tear from her cheek. Maya felt a warmth spread through her chest. She didn't pull away. She took a shaky breath and whispered Alexander. "I'm scared, I know," he said quietly. "But you're not alone anymore." Softly, almost by accident, Maya rested her head against his chest. Alexander froze for a moment, then carefully wrapped his arms around her, holding her like she was something precious. She felt his heartbeat, calm and steady. For the first time in a long time, she felt truly safe. When they finally pulled away, Alexander said, "Tomorrow, we end everything the rivals started." Maya nodded. "Together," she said, and he smiled softly. "Together." The morning after the storm was strangely calm. Alexander drove me back to the office, but this time, I wasn't the scared girl who'd escaped danger. I was the one who knew the truth, and it felt like I was standing in the center of the world, strong and somehow important. As we walked into the lobby, every head turned. The employees stared, confused by the way Alexander walked so protectively beside me. Whispers followed us, everyone sensing something big had happened, but not knowing what. Alexander called an emergency meeting. The entire board, all senior managers, and the legal team filled the glass-walled conference room. The room buzzed with nervous chatter until Alexander raised his hand and a heavy silence fell. He asked me to stand beside him. I hesitated, my hands trembling. He leaned in, his voice a soft anchor in my sea of nerves. "You deserve this moment. Don't be afraid." I took a deep breath, nodded, and stepped forward, my heart hammering against my ribs. Alexander faced the room, his voice clear and unwavering. He told them everything, told them how, as a delivery girl, I had found and corrected a critical legal error on my very first day. He described how I'd solved complex legal problems that had stumped their own experts. He explained how I had protected him, protected the company, and helped expose the rival's scheme. He didn't soften a single detail. He laid the truth bare for everyone to see. Shock washed over the room. Faces fell, and some people looked down in shame, no doubt remembering how they'd underestimated and dismissed me. Others looked at me with a newfound respect, a dawning realization that I possessed a brilliance most trained lawyers could only dream of. Then, Alexander made an announcement that nobody saw coming. He declared me the official legal consultant for the entire company, effective immediately. He announced a full scholarship for me to return to law school, all expenses covered, housing, books, tuition, everything. I gasped, my hand flying to my mouth. A sob caught in my throat. Tears welled up so fast the room blurred into a haze of light and color. The board members started clapping, a slow building rhythm. Then the managers joined in, and soon the entire room was filled with a thunderous applause that echoed against the glass walls. I stood there, completely overwhelmed, feeling as if my life, which had been a relentless struggle, was finally turning toward the light. After the meeting, Alexander took me to the hospital to see my father. The doctors greeted us with a level of respect I'd never seen before. Alexander had arranged for special care for him late last night. I ran to my father's bedside, tears of joy streaming down my face, and told him everything. My dad looked at Alexander, his eyes filled with emotion, and took his hand. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick. "Thank you for seeing the person my daughter really is." Alexander smiled gently. "Your daughter is extraordinary," he replied. I hugged my father tightly, a profound sense of peace washing over me. I finally had the chance to give him the life he deserved, safe, secure, and free from worry. Leaving the hospital, the afternoon sun painted the sky in shades of gold. Alexander turned to me and asked if I wanted to visit the cafe where I used to work. I laughed, surprised he remembered such a small detail. We sat at my old table, the very one where I'd spent countless breaks poring over law books, chasing a dream that felt impossibly far away. Memories washed over me, the exhaustion, the hope, the endless wondering if any of it would ever matter. Alexander watched me, his gaze gentle and understanding. After a long, comfortable silence, he spoke, his voice soft. "Maya," he began, "there is something I've been wanting to tell you." My heart skipped a beat. I turned to him slowly. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He took a deep breath, and it felt like the world held its breath with him. "I care about you," he said, his words simple, direct, and honest. "More than you know. More than I ever expected." My own breath caught in my throat. I could feel a blush creep up my neck, my heart thumping a loud, frantic rhythm. I looked away, suddenly shy, scared. "Alexander, people will talk. They'll judge." "I don't know if I can." He cut me off gently. "I don't care about what people say. I care about you." His voice was calm, a warm, steady presence that silenced my fears. Tears welled up again, but these were different soft tears of surprise, of hope, of a feeling deeper than I'd ever known. Slowly, he reached across the table and placed his hand over mine. I didn't pull away. The simple touch felt like a promise of safety, of support, of something real and true. "You're special to me," he whispered, "and I don't want to hide that anymore." I swallowed hard, my voice trembling as I finally admitted the truth to myself and to him. I think I care about you too." A radiant smile broke across Alexander's face, and in that moment I saw a boyish, pure joy in his expression that made my heart melt. He stood and held out his hand. "Come with me," he said. I placed my hand in his, and he led me to the rooftop of the company building. It was the same rooftop where I had once stood alone, feeling lost and invisible. Now I stood there with him, the wind gently tousling my hair as the city lights twinkled to life below. He turned to me and pulled something from his pocket. It's not a ring, but an official envelope. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside was the formal letter confirming my scholarship to law school, every single expense approved. And at the bottom, in Alexander's familiar handwriting, was a note. "Your mind changed my life. Let it change the world too." My eyes filled instantly. I looked up at him, so full of emotion I could barely breathe, stepped closer and gently wiped a tear from my cheek. "I believe in you," he whispered. Without thinking, I stepped forward and hugged him with no fear, no hesitation. He wrapped his arms around me, holding me as if I was the most precious thing in the world. We stood like that for a long moment, our hearts beating in sync, two souls finally finding a home in each other. When we pulled apart, he said, "Come downstairs. There's something I want to show you." He took my hand and led me to the elevator. When the doors opened on the main floor, I froze. The entire staff was there, clapping, huge banner hung above them. "Congratulations, Maya, our legal star." People who had once looked through me were now smiling, some apologizing, others thanking me with sincere gratitude. A warmth spread through my chest. I belonged. I was finally seen. Suddenly the room fell silent. Alexander stepped forward, glanced at the crowd, then looked directly at me. Took a deep breath. "There is something I want to say," he said, his voice steady but thick with emotion. My heart began to race. I reached for my hand, holding it gently. "Maya," he said, his soft, honest voice silencing the entire room. "I once looked down on you without knowing your truth, but now I look up to you with respect and pride. And I want to walk beside you, not ahead, not behind. With you?" My eyes were swimming in tears as I stared at him. And then he said the three words that made the entire office hold its breath. "Ow! I love you." A wave of emotion so powerful washed over me, I felt my knees weaken. I took a step closer, my voice trembling with the same truth. "I love you too," I whispered. The room erupted in cheers. People clapped, they shouted, they celebrated. Alexander pulled me into his arms, and I hugged him back with all the love and gratitude I had kept locked inside for so long. In that moment, I wasn't a delivery girl or a struggling worker. I was loved, respected, and finally free. Later that night, as Alexander drove me home, he held my hand the entire way. Standing under the quiet streetlight outside my house, he whispered, "This is only the beginning." I smiled. tears of pure happiness in my eyes. Then let's begin together. And just like that, two hearts that started in misunderstanding and pain walked into a new future. It one built on a love strong enough to rewrite both our lives forever.